Today we got a 2013 Dodge Ram 3500 with the 6.7 Cummins. This vehicle was brought to us with a DEF pump circuit code. And let's be honest with you guys, it's been kicking our tail. We're going to go over where we failed and how we came up with our conclusion. Let's get into it.
Hi guys, so DEF pump circuit code, circuit A code, which we think means absolutely nothing as far as phases of the pump. So it's a three-phase pump: phase A, phase B, phase C. When you look up in the information, you'll see that. We don't think that circuit A means phase A, but we can't prove it. But we're going to show you what we did. All right. So first thing to do is let's come on in. Well, let me tell you what we've done, or what's been done. We've done it, and other places have done it. It's been to the Chrysler dealership. They reflashed it. They put a sensor of some type in it. The client installed a new DEF pump.
Correct.
We don't know what brand. We have installed a new
dosing
module in it. Okay. Then we installed a factory pump. None of these things fix the problem. So we are definitely in a world of hurt here, but we've got the problem now. So let's come on in. Let me show you what we're at, where we started, and kind of walk through the process here. So this is when the vehicle came in. This is the code we've got. So we've got the factory WeTech hooked up. It doesn't matter. We had a snap-on hooked up to it at the beginning. You get the same exact code. You get the same exact circuit open. And if you click on this, it'll take you to the information. And it does say, if I go back over, I want to go back real quick. Pump A, reductant pump A control circuit open. Okay, so now we're in the library. Gives you the wiring diagram. Okay, so what we are concerned about and what we went into is the three phases of the pump: pump A, pump B, pump C. We also went to ground, just because it's got a ground, and we're figuring, well, it's looking at a circuit. So we've been messing with these four wires for a couple of days. If we go down and we just follow the procedure, we read through the theory of operation, didn't give us a lot of information, but just told us how the system works, which, okay, we definitely needed to know that, but I mean, not anything new. It is continuously monitored. This circuit is continuously monitored like most circuit codes. And the second condition is it detects an open in the DEF supply pump assembly circuits. Now, if we read that, circuits, okay? Again, we were at the beginning focused on, is it the phase A, because it's circuit A? And the answer to that question now we know is no. I mean, I think we've proven that out, kind of.
Kind of.
Although the last thing that we did kind of took us back to that.
Yeah.
So we literally focused on that, went completely away from it, and then the last thing we did, we kind of came back to it, but we'll get there. So if we look at what the possible causes are now, it says it could be A, B, or C circuit, the pump assembly, or the dosing control unit. So open or high resistance. Okay. So we went through. Initially, we tested. We didn't really go through this trouble tree. I think Andy tested the. Go ahead and tell them what you did.
So when this thing first came in, I did go ahead and do a resistance check on the pump circuits. I was able to get what they felt was a normal reading there. We load tested the circuits and everything passed. At that point, what I had done, because of the way I read the code, and this was where the misunderstanding starts, I assumed we're only looking at circuit A. So I took circuit B and circuit A in the connector, and I flipped them. I depinned it, I flipped the two terminals, I plugged it back in, I reset for pump circuit A. At that point, I felt we had a logic issue. That's when I called the dosing module. Unfortunately, as you can tell, I was incorrect. That's when Professor showed up and we kind of got back into this thing and went down a wild goose chase for a couple hours here.
So we ended up going through, we'll come on back in and let's keep going kind of. We went through this and we started just looking at how does this thing set and what is it looking and what are we testing? A lot of times when we can't figure out if the conditions, if it doesn't really tell you, very specifically what it's looking for, we'll look through the test procedure and it'll kind of give us an idea of what this thing is looking for. So as you go down through here, it's basically telling you to run a prime test and see if it, on the pump, to see if it sets. Well, you can't run a prime test because this code sets instantly. I mean, within 10 seconds, you do not have to cycle the key, nothing. You clear the codes, 10 seconds, within 10 seconds, it's going to come back. And it will not run that test. It will not let you do anything on that pump with that code. So, clearly went through, yes, it's active. All right, so let me come up. It says to disconnect the connector, and you're measuring the resistance in pump motor A supply circuit, okay, between the pump assembly, harness connector, and the depth dosing control unit. So let's come up under here real quick. I want to show you guys something. Just want to show you guys where we're at. This is the dosing control unit, okay? This is the connector going out. So this is where our pump wiring is. So, and this is our pump. So here we are. This is how long the harness is. Now it's not just a single harness because this harness, while it does run over here, it does have another set of, another connector, another set of wires coming out of it and going somewhere else. So unfortunately, you can't buy this little sub harness, but this is what we're dealing with. We're just dealing with this and this. So as Andy was load testing, and then later we load tested again just to be sure we didn't miss anything. Basically what we were doing was just going here, disconnecting it here, and load testing the 3 wires and the ground, and it was fine. So this is where we're dealing with. So let's go back over, kind of look at the screen again where we were just at and show you ahead. So basically what it's doing is it's telling you to disconnect those connectors, and you're measuring the resistance. I think initially you're just disconnecting the one off the dosing control unit, and you're just checking the resistance into the pump, and you're just looking to make sure it's less than 5 ohms. It's way less than 5 ohms. I mean, these things checked out perfectly. I hate doing resistance testing, which is exactly why we load tested everything also, and it passed too. But you're going to see why. So went through that. Okay, well, is it good? Is resistance below? Yeah. Okay, go to step 3. This is where a lot of times these things right here get you in trouble. So we go to step 3. Okay. Now we're looking for pump motor B supply circuit. Again, we're taking that same connector. We've already got it loose, and you're just checking the resistance on it. Again, going through the pump. And it's going to ask you the same question. Yeah, it was good. No problems. So we go through. Now what are we doing? Well, now we're just doing the third one. Pump motor C, same exact test. And we're not showing you the test, guys, because I don't like doing ohm testing, and it's better to load test it. Now we were ohming out this pump at that point. So you are ohming the pump out also, not just the circuit. So I mean, sometimes that can be useful because you can't really, if you can't run the pump, you can't load test the pump. So, but it passed this also. Okay. So what does it tell you to do? Well, go to step 5. Replace the pump. Okay. Well, somebody had already replaced the pump, and it didn't fix the problem. Okay. So at that point, that's when Andy went in and swapped the 2 wires. It continued to stay with what we thought was phase A, which we thought would be coinciding with circuit A, and so we put a module in it. Makes sense, right? Didn't fix it. So okay, we did all this. We went in and replaced it, and did it return? So you got to love that. Okay, replace that part with a known good part. Okay, did it return? So it doesn't really tell you that it's going to fix it. It just says try it, basically. So you replace that part. Did it come back? Yep, code came back. We're still in here. All right. So now we're going to go through here. So it says now we're looking for service bulletins, which, to be very honest with you, we did that before we ever replaced the part. But looking for service bulletins, disconnect all the harness connectors, disconnect everything basically. Now we're inspecting. Now we did go through We looked for it. Yes, all the pins are in it. Everything looks good. All the connector locks are good. There's no corrosion in them. There's no signs of any water. Nothing's damaged. Nothing's bent. We're going to come back to this overheating one because initially we looked at it. We're like, no, none of the terminals inside of this connector looked like they were hot at all. We actually went through, where it says check for spread terminals, we went through and did a drag test on the terminals. And, you know, they all felt like they were okay. I mean, you know, none of them felt fantastic. None of them felt really loose. So we're like, well, okay, you know, they're all the same, so we're okay. All right, so we go back through. We didn't find any conditions, so we just went back through and reconnected everything. And of course, did it return? Yes. So now what are we going to do? Well, now we're going to replace the dosing control unit, which we did already, and it didn't fix it. So now it's had a pump. It's had a pump, then it had a dosing control unit. We checked all the connections. We've checked everything. So I'm like, okay, and I made this decision. So, well, we've got a factory dosing control unit in it. We've checked all the wiring. I can't tell you how many times. It had a pump put in it. No idea where the pump came from. So I made the call, let's put a pump in this thing. I mean, at that point, we didn't know what else to do. We put a pump in it. Very, very sad day. That did not fix the problem either. So then Andy and I spent this whole morning going through everything again, rechecking everything, trying to figure out how does this thing check this circuit. There's got to be a way of this thing testing this circuit. How does it know it's open? So what we've done is, come on back under, and you might have already seen it, but we're into all three of the pump circuits and the ground circuit, correct, Andy?
Yes, sir.
So in all three of the pump circuits and the ground circuit on this, at the pump, okay? It's all hooked up here. The key is on. So what we're trying to look at is, what are we getting here? What kind of signal are we getting at this pump? Something's got to be happening. So let's go back out. We'll show you what we got. This is our signal. So I got to be real honest with you. I had no idea what that was. I mean, if we look at the voltage, it is 1.6. Now, when we first got into this thing, now unfortunately, everybody, we did not get film or record while we had this other. But I do have I'm going to show you what the original one was. Whoops. This is what we saw originally. So we hooked up just like you see it, and this is what we got. So if we look at this, yellow and green are dead on top of each other. No difference. They're identical. But red is way up. Now, is that way up? Let's look at the voltage here. 0 volts is here. So we're only looking at half a volt at the peak of the yellow and green. We're looking at 1.5 volts at the peak of red. That is a volt. So we're looking at that going, what's the difference here? What's happened? Why is one of those circuits different than the other one? The other two? We couldn't make rhyme or reason of that. We made some phone calls to some guys that we feel like are really, really on top of it. They couldn't give us anything either. I mean, they were like, no, we don't know. Nobody could tell us, what are we looking for? What is this module? The module's got to be looking for something, some voltage, something to come back to it or to feed through. There's got to be some kind of feedback to let it know that this circuit is good. And nobody could tell us what it was, what it's looking for. And when we saw this difference here, right, that even threw us more for a loop, because it's like, okay, we've already replaced everything. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I see this, my first thought is going to be a module or something that, because it's got different voltage, but or a pump or something. But we've already done all that. We're not going to continue going down these throwing parts at it, So this kind of threw us for a loop. This is the next thing that we did. So let's go ahead and get the lights. So let's bring the lights over here. We got to thinking about it. And we said, okay, what is the pump? The pump's just a load, right? So we said, okay, the pump says, the information says less than 5 ohms on a circuit. So we went down a little below that, did a little calculation. We got a Ohm's law calculator. You guys should all have an Ohm's law calculator unless you can do the math in your head. I'm not that good. And we just went kind of middle of the road, 13 volts, what do we think, 2.5?
Yeah, it was two ohms.
Two ohms.
So we come up with. I
forget
can't
what
even do
it
the
was.
math at the moment. I'm so flustered with this truck.
Yeah, we
But-
just basically figured out if we had like 2.5 amps, I mean, it was some crazy amperage, depending on 5 ohms down to 1 ohm. So we just went with, basically 1 amp, 2.5 amps right in that area. And we've just got 3 things here that will load it. Okay, we've got a 1 amp test light. I think these were 1 amp or a little more than 1 amp, and then this was like 4 amps or 3 amps, right? So basically what we did was we took these and we put them in line, and we're going to do it now. I don't think I saved those. Yes, I did. Hang on. We don't have to hook them back up.
Can you show all of them?
Yeah, we can definitely show how to hook it up. Okay, so let's show you how we hooked it up first, and then we'll come back and show the data. So Andy went in, disconnected the pump. We left our back probes in.
And then
Go ahead, Andy, take over.
So what we did is we went to the ground, which is where our green back probe is here. Might be hard to see on the camera. And then we just went ahead and loaded each circuit with one of the bulbs. Okay, just like so. And yeah, this guy went here. So I had a full load going on the system, and we went and we started checking our waveform at that point.
Yeah. So basically, once this was all hooked up, that's basically, it's a 3-phase motor, and I know you see 4 lights here, but this is only 3 loads that we've got here. One of our leads.
Yeah, one of my leads went bad.
Went bad as we were testing. One of the leads went bad. Make sure you're checking on that, guys. You might see something weird. We saw something weird on the scope. You're like, that looks like something's going on. So we double checked, and yeah, it was a lead bad. So this gave us 3 loads, and basically what we did was Andy was down unplugging and plugging, and we were looking at things. We were looking at the change, because theoretically, yeah, I know that's a motor, but all it is resistance. Okay, so we just put something in place that would be in the range that Chrysler set up for the resistance, Ram, whatever, that they set up for resistance, and we substituted something that we know has got that resistance in it, thinking that, okay, now let's see what we've got on the scope. So let's go see what happened. So when we initially connected, look at what happened in the interim. So you saw that last one, right, where the red was inside the yellow and it was popping above it, right? So I think that one was saved from the other day. So I think that was red. I think that was yellow, green, and red. Is
I
that
believe
right?
so.
What I just had?
Yeah.
So the blue is now the green, guys. I'm sorry to be confusing. We've been working on this thing and disconnecting and connecting, but just know that these are the 3 phases of the motor wiring here. So if we remember, the red was definitely popping above, but it was centered with the yellow and with the other 2 traces. But look at it now. Now all of a sudden it popped way down here. It's like, what in the world is happening here? Why did it pop way down here? So when Andy unplugged and then plugged in the one circuit on the yellow circuit, I believe it was. No, I'm sorry, on the blue circuit, when he plugged into it, look at what happened to the yellow. It dropped down, but the red did not change. So we're going to zoom in right there. He plugged in and turned the yellow off. Look what happened to the blue. Blue went away. Blue went to ground. Okay. Yellow made a change though. At that exact spot, yellow made a change. Look at red. Red was doing something completely different than it was before. Even before we hooked anything up. It just was down here now. It's like, what in the world is happening here? What is this module doing? What is it looking for? Why is now the red down here? Again, we're not dealing with a lot of, we're dealing with negative voltage here. We're dealing with positive voltage up here. What is going on with this thing? So, all right, guys, let's see if we can't get that thing safe plugged in. So we were confused, okay, to say the least. We were confused. We were racking our brain trying to figure out what was happening here. So after we did this, we moved them around. We tried to recreate. The only things that would happen is when you were on those two, it would definitely do this, but the red wouldn't change. The red would not change. So then we were able to get the red to ground. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we got all three of them finally to ground. Okay. And so when we had that load on there, they were all three. If you look where that blue one is, the blue one went to ground. Let me take the green one off. Oops. There we go. That's ground. And the blue went to ground. So we're thinking, okay, well, maybe if it goes to ground, it thinks that that's good. Wow, we didn't know. I would think that would think it was shorted. But it never changed. It always stayed the same code. And no matter what we did, even when we got all three of them to finally be there, it still set the same exact code. So we were beating our head against the wall at this point. We went back into this. We went back over into the information. We read through it again and again and again and again. We went through the wiring diagram. I can't tell you how many times. This is about the simplest wiring diagram you'll ever see in your entire life. The reality is there's 3 wires here that it's checking. And that's it. And we have load tested them and checked them 100 times over. So the only thing that could possibly be, as we thought through it, we finally said it's got to be a connection issue. It just has to be a connection issue. But how can we prove that out? We got a new pump in it, but what if it's something at the pump? What if it's a connection at the pump? The terminals feel good. The wiring feels good. We've had the terminals out of the connector.
We've done stable in 22 on the connectors.
Yeah, stable in 22. I mean, we beat this horse to death on this connections and could not find anything. I mean, we drag tested that thing 500 ways to Sunday and could not get it to mess up, get it to be bad, feel bad to us anyway. But eventually what we did was we said, okay, let's grab that module. We took the old dosing control module, which is unhook this and what we cut the old dosing control module open. Okay. We didn't know where to take it apart, it's glued. So we cut it open. And what we figured out was we said we're going to go in and we're going to take the 3 connections, those 3 circuits inside the module, and we're going to run jumpers from inside this module, and we're going to come outside the module on the other side of the connector and get into the wires. We're going to bypass this connector completely. This connector and the one on the car. We're going to bypass it completely. So anything inside here that might be messed up, we're going to bypass, and anything that's in the actual connector, we're going to bypass. So that's what we did. So let's get this hook back up. Give us just a second. We're going to get this hook back up. We'll show you how we did it, and then we'll get it hooked up. So you can see this one, we've got a little hook, which we had 3 of these, but we don't have 3 of them, but there's a little hook there. We've got more at the other shop, but we don't want to drive over there. We were wanting to do this, so what we did was we got that one, and it was 4, 5, and 6. So we took this little guy, and just grabbed it in here, and it's not touching anything else. And then we took this one and grabbed it in there, and it was good. So now, basically, sorry, gotta hold it still. Can you see it? Okay. So basically now we've got connections at those 3 circuits inside the module, and then we've got our jumper leads. So then what we did was we came over. All right, hold that for me, I'll unplug the other one. All right, let's take this off. We're going to plug this back in. New module's off. Now if you look, because you're going to see when I plug this back in, because I looked at this for a second before Andy pointed it out to me. This one's taller than this one, okay? The reason I say that is because after a while your mind starts really searching. When you plug that one in, see it goes all the way flush. But when you plug this one in, that's it, and that is on. That is all the way on. So it does look a little off, but it's not. All right, so then we've got to come in. What do we got here? This is our, I'll take that and put it on our, okay, this is our center. All we're doing is coming around here and we're using some piercers here just because I want to get, I didn't want a back probe here because if for some crazy reason, even though we've had these out, if for some reason it's right where that terminal's crimped on or something, I wanted to get rid of that. So we went in here and that look good there, Andy? I can't see it.
I can't see. Yep, you look good there.
All right.
Black.
Black. That's this one. All right. And we got the green one. All right, so what we've got now is we're basically connected to the 3 circuits here. We jumped around with the wires here, we come around, and we're connected in the 3 circuits here. On these 3 circuits, not all of them obviously, but those 3 circuits, this connector is bypassed. So now let's go back over and see what we got. Now I'm going to tell you what we did. We did not go straight to the scope. We're definitely going to the scope. We went in. Okay, we got a ton of codes now because we've had them disconnected, obviously. The key's been on the whole time. We cleared the codes. Now I will tell you the entire time that we've been doing this, which has been several, I don't know how many days, a few days.
Yeah,
At
two,
least
3 days.
You could sit there and clear those codes, and you could count to 10. And before you got to 10, the code was back. So I cannot begin to tell you how happy we were when we looked at that screen, and we kept looking at that screen. And actually, I think I counted in my brain to about 30, thinking, did I actually count to 10? So we were extremely happy. So what do we know? We know there's an issue in that connector, right? There's no pins for the connector available. When you're actually in, something really good about using the factory Chrysler tool anyway is you can actually go in and look at that connector. It'll tell you the pin kit, it'll tell you repair kits, give you all the part numbers. Nothing is available. So we're gonna have to figure out how to fix this. But we wanted to know, what does it look like on the scope now? Because we can clearly see that something is happening here, right? When, as it was doing this before. Let's go back to the original one. And something is definitely happening, right? This was bad, known bad, okay? And I'm gonna make sure that you guys can see this because I know we're gonna get some questions here. These are not square waves. These are just spikes. These are just spikes, okay? So we went back in once we've got this bypass because now we know it's passing. There's no codes. What does it look like? And this is what it looks like. This is good. This is, now look at our voltage scale. Let's make sure we focus on that. Remember before we were at 0.4 volts up to 1.4, 1.5 volts. We are now 4.25 volts. Square wave. This is a square wave. And this is all 3 circuits. Here's our ground. All 3 circuits are identical, laying on top of each other. So that's known good. We know the problem's in the connector. I know that seems, I know we've all seen millions of videos or hundreds of videos at least online where guys found that connector and, you know, it was great and wonderful and they didn't put any parts on it. We weren't those guys this time. We wanted to show you that this is a fail and a win all at the same time. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what we would have done different. I mean, I don't know that we would have cut that module open to begin with to check that bad connector, okay? I just don't think that would be a way we would have initially gone with this. But I will say this, come back in, I do want to show that connector again. Because once we said, okay, we know it's a bad connection, we know it's in this connector, we really started to look at this connector. Actually, let me go ahead. I don't want to move this around too much because we got a module that's hanging out in the air here. So we're going to take these off because I don't want something to short. I have more problems with this wonderful thing.
Well, I'm going to have you hook that back up for the viewers here in a minute when you're done. We're going to show them exactly which terminal we narrowed this down
That's
to.
right, we are going to do that. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, we have more info. But if we look really closely at this connector, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me try throwing a little light on it. I don't know if you can see it, but that connector right here is slightly darker than the rest of it. Just right in this area right here. Now, that's not near those terminals. Those terminals, those wires are over here. So I don't know that has anything to do with it. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's just, you know, where it's sitting under the vehicle and just normal there. But when, you know, again, we started looking at it and we were like, you know, could it possibly have been hot? We could pop that connector off. We can look inside of it. I'm going to do that real quick. So why not? We're not going to hurt anything at this point. But if I pull that off, let's get in here real close, and you'll see there is absolutely nothing, no heat, no sign of anything in that connector. So I can't say that we would have done anything different. We saw no sign of that. We can go in here and pin drag that, and they don't feel bad. We've had the wire out, doesn't feel bad. But yes, we did go in, and after we, you know, hey, listen, anytime you have something like this, anytime you come to a finish point, you got it, and you're like, yeah, I'm happy, I got this thing, right? We've been working on this thing for days. When you get to the end, and you find it, stop for a second. Don't just ship it. I know you want to get it out. I know you've been working on it. Middle. I know you've been working on it. Get some data. Get some known good stuff. So after we got done playing around, we got the known good waveform. We started to, honestly, we wanted to see, is circuit A is, you know, what's happening? Why are we getting all those weird circuits, codes? I mean, why are we getting that code, but it's not pointing to one particular circuit, or is it? Andy, I'm going to want you to double check me over here just to be sure that I've got these on. I believe I do, but black is this side, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
that's right.
we're good.
Okay. So let's go recreate what we did here. So come on out here. All right, so we got our square wave going.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go backwards at the module. I'm going to disconnect legs C, B, and then A while you watch the lab scope. So go ahead and take a peek at the lab scope.
First one is going to take off is C.
So C is coming off now. Should be no change.
No change. Absolutely the same as it was.
Now we're going to take off
Hold
leg.
on 1 second. Did you already put it back on?
I can.
Okay, so it's off. Let me stop. Let me just. We see that there's no change. Everybody see that,
Back on.
right? Okay, hang on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to leg B.
All right, circuit B's coming
It's
off.
disconnected.
Circuit B's off now. No change. Let's look at it. Nope, no change.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
hold on. Let me get everything turned back on again. So we had circuit C disconnected, and now circuit B disconnected. Okay. And go ahead.
Okay, so B is plugged back in now.
Okay. So now
And
they're
now-
all plugged back in.
And now we're going to go to A.
There's circuit A. There's circuit A disconnected.
So when we were talking at the beginning of the video, we weren't sure if the code definition was correct, and we kind of got thrown for a loop. This takes us back to circuit A.
And here we are back again. But now look where we're at on the scope here. Okay. All of them are back. Now they're on top of each other. Okay. Remember the red was all over the place doing weird stuff before. Now they're on top of each other. And this is where it was unplugged. So, but again, let's think about this. What about circuit B and I'm sorry, I don't even want to say circuit B and circuit C. What about phase B and phase C? We disconnected them. There was no change. There was no code. So how does it check those circuits? So is it only if phase A is open, it's the only time it'll throw a code? Guys, if you know more about these pumps, or you've been in this thing, or you've done with this before, please comment down below. I would love to know.
Our theory is because this is a three-phase pump, it only needs to see one leg go down. So in theory, if we lost B or C, it would still lose A. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So the theory is no matter which leg went down, we were going to lose A no matter what.
Yeah.
So we suspect that's why they're only coding for A.
But my thing
It's a
is,
suspicion though.
but it didn't make a difference when we disconnected the other two. The other two circuits being disconnected. Did they throw a code? I don't remember we checked that.
We never tried those
Let's try it.
individually.
All right, guys, you're along for the ride here. We're gonna do this real quick. I know this is getting long, guys, and I'm sorry. We're really. Hang on, let me clear it. You got them hooked all hooked up.
Everybody's hooked up.
Everybody's hooked up. We're gonna clear this. So only take a second, guys.
Well, you know what? Sure, it won't set a code anyway, because those are not the ones that are drawing it down. We would have to physically remove the pin and make it open on that particular circuit by itself.
That's true. We would, wouldn't we? Okay, guys. So maybe
So this
that
isn't
makes
gonna
more
work.
sense then. That makes more sense then. Yeah, because it only showed the circuit. The code was only for that circuit. So maybe inside that connector, or maybe that's why when we disconnected. Although that doesn't make a lot of sense on why, when we swapped the terminals, why didn't we get a movement with that?
Because it still sees one circuit's down,
Yeah.
so we're only going to flag for
We're
one.
only going to ever flag.
doesn't make
I feel
sense.
like we're only going to ever flag for A. It's going to be circuit A code. It's probably a generic, it's a circuit for the fuel pump. Because we literally have the connector disconnected, and the only pump code you ever get is circuit A. So I don't think that there's any other circuit code. Guys, what I'm trying to say is don't look for a circuit B and think that's phase B, or a circuit C and that's phase C. I think it's circuit A, and that's one of the pump circuits. And that kind of, once we went back and reread a little deeper, and you guys saw it towards the beginning where it says what could cause this. It said one of those three pump control circuits could cause it. So maybe we read too much into it. Maybe we read too much into the circuit A. Clearly we did, but we definitely got some known good data now. Just to let you guys know just how we do business. Client's not paying for that pump. That's an expensive one for us. Client's not paying for the dosing control module. Client's going to pay for us to diagnose it. He's going to pay for us to repair the connector, whatever we got to do that, and that's it. So that's how we do business. So, you got anything else you want to add in here?
No, I mean, this is our first go around with a three-phase pump. So obviously
Yeah.
this this hurts, right? We spent a lot of money as a company. We learned a lot. Sometimes you can't put a price tag on education. At least that's what I keep telling him today.
Yeah.
You know, you just move on.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button.
Don't forget to hit the bell button. That way you get notified anytime we put out new content. And we'll see you guys on the next one.